It's impossible, the pilot said. 2 hours. For expert pilots. Every trick they knew, they tried. Nothing worked. The plane kept turning toward danger, and no one could stop it. Then a quiet 16-year-old girl walked into the cockpit. She looked at the screen for 1 minute. Everything changed. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. It was a normal Tuesday morning. The sky was clear. The sun was bright. Flight SK-214 was flying from Chicago to Boston. There were 178 people on the plane. Most of them were sleeping, reading, or looking out of the window. Nobody knew that in a few minutes, this normal flight would turn into the most dangerous 2 hours of their lives. In seat 19C sat a girl named Maya Ramon. She was 16 years old. She had a small backpack under her seat and a laptop open on her tray table. She was not watching a movie like the other passengers. She was reading lines of computer code. Maya loved computers since she was 8 years old. By the time she was 14, she was already writing programs that her school teachers could not understand. She was flying to Boston for a science competition. Her bag had a small trophy inside it, one she had already won last year for finding a mistake in a hospital computer system. Nobody on the plane knew this. To them, she was just a quiet teenage girl with messy hair and big glasses. 1 hour after takeoff, something strange happened. The plane made a small turn. It was not a big turn. Most passengers did not even feel it. But Maya felt it. She looked out of the window and saw that the wing was tilting slightly to the left. She checked the small map on the screen in front of her seat. The plane was supposed to be flying straight toward Boston. But the little airplane icon on the map was now pointing in a different direction. She thought maybe it was just a normal weather adjustment. Pilots do that sometimes. She went back to her code. But 2 minutes later, she felt the plane turn again. Same direction. Same small angle. Something was wrong. In the cockpit, Captain Daniel Reyes had already noticed the problem before Maya did. Daniel had been flying planes for 25 years. He had seen storms, engine problems, and even a bad strike that damaged one engine. But he had never seen anything like this. The autopilot, which is the computer system that flies the plane automatically, was slowly turning the aircraft off its path. He tried to fix it the normal way. He pushed the button to turn off the autopilot. Nothing happened. He pushed it again. Still nothing. The plane kept turning just a tiny bit every minute, like it had a mind of its own. Next to him sat First Officer Priyanaya. She was calm and careful. She opened the emergency manual and started reading through every page about autopilot problems. She tried every step written in the book. She pressed different buttons. She flipped different switches. Nothing worked. The plane kept slowly drifting off course. Captain Reyes made an announcement. He asked the flight attendants to check if there was any off-duty pilot on the plane. Within minutes, 2 more pilots came to the cockpit. Captain Elena Cruz, who had flown planes for 18 years, and Captain Robert Kim, who had 10 years of experience and was known as one of the best pilots in the company. Now there were 4 pilots in a small cockpit, all looking at the same screen, all trying to solve the same problem. They tried everything they knew. They turned off different computer systems and turned them back on. They tried all tricks that pilots use when something strange happens. Elena remembered a trick from years ago, something she used once when a similar small problem happened on a different plane. It did not work this time. Robert tried disconnecting one of the flight computers completely. The plane kept turning anyway. It was flying perfectly in every other way. The engines were fine. The fuel was fine. The wings were fine. But the direction was wrong and getting more wrong every minute. The pilots called the airline's technical team on the radio. Engineers on the ground listened carefully and gave many suggestions. The 4 pilots tried each one. None of them worked. 1 hour passed. The plane had turned almost 20 degrees away from its correct path. Ahead of them, far in the distance, were tall mountains that the plane was not supposed to fly anywhere near. Captain Reyes looked at the clock. 1 hour and 30 minutes had passed since the problem started. He looked at First Officer Nair. Both of them had the same thought, but neither wanted to say it out loud. If they could not fix this soon, the plane would fly directly toward the mountains, and there would be nothing they could do to stop it. It's impossible, Robert said quietly, looking at the screen. Every fix we know, we have already tried. Nobody in the cockpit spoke for a moment. The only sound was the soft hum of the engines and the quiet beep of a warning light that would not turn off. Captain Reyes rubbed his eyes. He thought about the 178 people sitting behind him, most of them still unaware that anything was wrong. Some were sleeping. Some were watching movies. A few children were playing games on small screens, laughing quietly and not knowing that 4 grown men in the front of the plane were running out of time and out of ideas. Priya looked at the fuel numbers on her screen. They still had enough fuel to keep flying for a while, but the mountains ahead were getting closer every minute. She picked up the radio again and called the ground team one more time, her voice steady but tired. We have tried every step in the manual. We have tried every suggestion you have given us. Nothing is working. We need something else. Anything. There was silence on the radio for a few seconds. Even the ground engineers, sitting safely in their office with every manual and every tool in front of them, they did not have an answer. That silence was the moment Captain Reyes understood just how serious the problem really was. Back in the cabin, Maya was watching the small map on her screen very closely. She could see the plane was now clearly off its path. She opened her laptop and looked at all files she had saved from a project she worked on last year. She had studied airplane computer systems as part of her science project at the same project that won her the trophy in her bag. She had read about a rare kind of computer error where the autopilot gets stuck in one direction and normal buttons do not fix it. She remembered writing a report about it and sending it to a computer safety website months ago, just for fun, never thinking she would actually see it happen. Her hands were shaking a little, but her mind was clear. She stood up from her seat and walked to the front of the plane. A flight attendant stopped her gently. Please sit down, miss. We are dealing with a technical issue right now. I know, Maya said. I think I know what is wrong with the plane. The flight attendant looked at her, unsure. Maya did not look like someone who could know anything about airplane computers. She was just a teenage girl with a backpack and messy hair. But something in the way she spoke made the flight attendant pause. Maya was not scared or shouting. She was calm and clear, like someone explaining a simple math problem. I studied this exact kind of computer error for a science project, Maya said. I think I can help. Please, just tell the captain. The flight attendant looked at her for 2 more seconds, then picked up the phone and called the cockpit. Captain, there is a passenger here. A teenage girl. She says she knows what is wrong with the autopilot. In the cockpit, 4 tired and worried pilots looked at each other. 2 hours had passed. They had tried everything they knew. Captain Reyes was a careful man, but he was also out of ideas. Send her up, he said. Maya walked into the cockpit. The 4 pilots turned to look at her. She was small next to their tall chairs and big screens. For a second, nobody said anything. My name is Maya, she said. I am 16. I have been studying airplane computer systems for almost 2 years. I think I know what happened to your autopilot. Captain Reyes looked at First Officer Nair. Neither of them said anything. They had nothing to lose. Tell us, Reyes said. This is called a stuck loop error, Maya said. It happens when the autopilot computer gets a wrong signal and keeps repeating the same small turn again and again. Normal buttons do not fix it because the computer thinks it is doing the right thing. You need to go into a hidden menu, not the normal menu, and reset just one small part of the system, not the whole computer. Elena frowned. We tried resetting the whole system already. That is the problem, Maya said. If you reset the whole system, the stuck loop error saves itself and comes back. You have to reset only the small part with the heading control, then nothing else. If you touch anything else at the same time, it will not work. The pilots looked at each other. It sounded strange, but nothing else had worked in 2 hours. Captain Reyes nodded. Show us. Maya moved close to the screen. Her hands were still shaking, but she kept them steady enough to point at the buttons. First, press this button and hold it for 3 seconds. This will open a hidden technical menu. Robert pressed the button. A new screen appeared, one none of the pilots had ever seen before. Now scroll down to the option called Heading Control, Maya said. Do not touch anything else. Priya scrolled down carefully and found it. Select it, and you will see a small red warning message. That is normal. Do not worry about it. It always shows a warning first. The screen showed a red message. Robert looked worried, but Maya shook her head calmly. It is fine. Now wait exactly 10 seconds. Not more, not less. The cockpit went silent. 4 experienced pilots and one 16-year-old girl stood watching the clock, counting quietly in their heads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now press reset only on this one option, Maya said. Captain Reyes pressed it himself. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the screen flickered. The red warning disappeared. The small light that showed the autopilot problem turned from a steady red to a blinking green. Try turning the plane back to the correct path, Maya said. Just a small movement first. Captain Reyes carefully moved the controls. The plane responded. It turned smoothly, exactly the way it was supposed to. The nose of the plane slowly came back toward Boston, back toward the correct path. Nobody in the cockpit said anything for a moment. Then First Officer Nia let out a long breath she seemed to have been holding for 2 hours. Elena put her hand over her mouth. Robert just stared at the screen, shaking his head slowly, unable to believe what he had just seen. It took us 2 hours, Captain Reyes said quietly. It took you 1 minute. Maya did not smile or celebrate. She was still looking at the screen, checking that everything was correct. I am glad it worked, she said simply. I was not completely sure it would. The rest of the flight was calm. The plane landed safely in Boston, exactly on time. Passengers walked out of the plane, most of them never knowing how close they had come to danger, never knowing that a quiet 16-year-old girl in seat 19C had saved all of their lives in exactly 60 seconds. News of what happened spread quickly. Captain Reyes gave an interview 2 days later. He said something that many people still remember. I have 25 years of flying experience. 3 other pilots with me had almost 40 more years combined. We tried everything we knew for 2 hours. A 16-year-old girl walked into our cockpit and fixed it in 1 minute because she had studied something we had never even heard of. That should tell all of us something important. We should never judge who might have the answer just because of their age. Maya went on to win her science competition that same week in Boston. But the story that people remembered was not about the trophy. It was about the girl who sat calmly in the back of a plane, who watched a small map with careful eyes, then knew exactly what to do when 4 experienced pilots said it was impossible. Airline companies later invited Maya to speak with their engineering teams about the stuck loop error she had found. She was still in high school, still doing normal homework, still carrying her backpack everywhere she went. But now, when she spoke, people listened. Not because of her age, and not despite it. They listened because she had shown them, in exactly 60 seconds, 38,000 feet in the air, that being right does not depend on how many years you have lived. It depends on how carefully you have learned, and how come you can stay when everyone else has already given up.